ghostly mark. Cobwebs twine and shadows dance in this twilight somber trance. Candles flicker, weary wicks, ancient echoes, time's cruel tricks. Marble figures, frozen pose, amidst the silent sorrow grows. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room. Chandeliers in crystal tears reflect forgotten yesteryears, softly chanting distant cries. Through the arches sorrow sighs. Gargoyles watch with stony gaze, guardians of endless maze. Pipe organ's breath begins to rise, filling air with mournful ties. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shoal. This is Lady Red of the Black Pants Legion, here to witter about writing things and just be generally annoying and opinionated and ranty. And I also stole Lictor to try and keep me in check. Hi, Lictor.
Hello. I'm afraid there is no keeping you in check. However, it might be fun to try.
You do an excellent job of trying. How is chat today? I see some of our usual suspects have rolled in, which is always very nice. Hello, Polygrammatic Gothdrop. We also have Silicon Soul with us, and Ed. It's nice to see you, Ed. We have Crafty Canuck with us, and Wilf, and Night Owl. Yeah, Night Owl is the person who most suffers from me not being kept in check.
Okay.
And we have Doctor Who. Hello, Doctor Who. How are you? And Introspective 90 is back on his computer. Did you fix the computer or did you get a new one? Night Owl is currently on an 80 stream streak. Night Owl, please!
You're making us look bad. And
you fixed
also,
it?
think of the children. Or something. I don't know.
Verathrakna says, I don't know how well I can hear today after my eye appointment. Yes, it's very important that ears and eyes are connected. You have to turn down the music to see better when you're driving, after all. It is impressive you managed to fix it, though, Introspective. That is very good. Well done. And may it serve you for a long time still to come. Twitch doesn't count streams that happen too close together either. Oh no. Oh no. Night Owl, when do you sleep? Do you sleep?
No more questions.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Sleep? Question mark. Yeah. Okay. Fair. Okay. So yeah. This week, my only plans for today are to continue what we were doing last week and see where we get to. I don't really have anything massive from this week that's happened. I've been remarkably unproductive for me, though I have been working on a very cool art piece that I'm looking forward to finishing. I have a recurring sort of list of clients that come to me year after year for some bizarre reason, these strange people. And, it's always fun stuff I get asked to do. I think the person who always not confounds but surprises me the most with the breadth of the things that he asks me to do is Eeyore of the Black Pants Legion. It's just Eeyore always has some unique project up his sleeve whenever I'm able to get to them, and right now I'm busy drawing BPL members as Mad Max characters, which has been very, very fun.
That is concerning.
I will show you the piece a little bit later if you would like, Lictor. It's been fun trying to capture the essence of various Beeple members in a slightly different way, because I was given a reference image. It's from the 2024 meetup. And I've been trying to carry over the feel of that image into the piece without it being a direct replication. And long story short, I gave Exemplus a mohawk. I thought that was a reasonable thing to do.
I received comments. This is not concerning. This is now an official concern. However, the authority of negotiation and renegotiation will take this under consideration.
Ed says he's been similarly unproductive. He's okay with that. Will says, I totally burned out on writing last weekend, so I've been easing my way back in. Turns out writing a novel is hard. Writing a novel is very, very hard. It is not an easy process. And there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh yes, everybody has a novel inside of them. It's just having the time to sit down and do it. And no, everybody perhaps has a story inside of them, but you need far more than just time to successfully write a book, which, we've been discovering over the course of a year on this stream. You need to be able to ground your story in a believable setting with suspension of disbelief. You need to be able to have relatable characters who interact with each other. There's a hell of a lot of thinking and intricacy and things that are linked together if you want to have a good and meaningful book, especially as you're also going to be reducing down, the average day in the life into something that's more punchy and strong and carries something through for an audience. Because one of the things I've talked about on here before is there's a terrible book I have read to my book club. Oh, I should tell you about restarting book club, because that's happened this week. There's a terrible book I read to my book club, Handbook for Mortals, which is supposed to be this magical story in the vein of Twilight, and it's just trash. It's absolutely terrible, it's awful, etc. But there's a moment in that book where the main character is going off to go on a date with the musician character from it. And as they're about to leave the building, she turns around, goes back to her dressing room, gets her phone, then turns around, goes back to the entrance and meets up with the musician to go on their date. And the only reason that happens is because people sometimes forget their phones in real life. And that doesn't belong in a book. That might be, something that, yes, does happen in real life, but unless the forgetting of the phone or the collecting of the phone has a point, so she's going to run into somebody along the way, or if she doesn't go back to get the phone, she misses an important call, etc., etc. It shouldn't be there. This is just fluffing up your word count, and it's boring. It doesn't mean anything to the audience. The audience didn't come here to have a day in the life of just normal, boring, banal things happening. You are here to tell a constructive narrative. Things mean things. If the thing is there and doesn't do anything or mean anything or tie into anything, it shouldn't be there. It needs to be edited out, and that's a skill. So yeah, writing novels is hard. You can't just throw things on a page and it works. Yes, please
I will
do.
chime in and say, on to the wittering, and I will say that slice of life is a thing. Slice of life has its own point. If you're not doing slice of life, for the love of all ink and paper, do writing. Not not everything is a stream of thought, James Joyce
I
novel.
have never
Okay.
enjoyed stream of consciousness novels. That is a genre. It is a thing people do, and I don't get it. I have never been able to get it. It's just a mess. Introspective says, what if the point of the thing is how pointless it is? Now, if you're using it for a characterization, like, this character is incredibly absent-minded and she puts these banal things to go back and get her phone over the fact that, her potential boyfriend is waiting for her and, he's getting annoyed. You've then used it to mean a thing, even though you've added the banal thing in. And of course, that's what Slice of Life does, is it shows you these very normal, mundane things, but how they kind of quantum butterfly into everything that happens around you, the things that you prioritize versus the things that you don't in your life. So yeah. It's not an easy talent. It's not an easy skill to just write a book, and it's why we come here every Friday. Is because writing is wonderful, and we recognise the talent that goes into it. I genuinely believe that everybody here, as well as the other viewers that we have come in, and most people in the world have the capacity to write. But the first step in having that capacity to write is not just time and throwing words on a page. It's being passionate about it and wanting to write something that means something, and then that's where we started from here.
There's also the if I will try and be a little bit poetic, part of the talent is knowing what not to write.
Yeah, and sometimes that can come through
space,
just the editing
the spaces
process.
between the words.
Yeah.
The spaces between the words sometimes mean more than the words around them. Again, I'm being a bit poetic, but I think the
No,
point
you're
is coming
completely
across.
correct. What doesn't get said is it's very important. I think it was Doctor Who I was talking to during the week. We were talking about some of Agatha Christie's writing. I believe we were discussing, I think it was Doctor Who, because we discussed Murder on the Orient Express, and then I was mentioning some of her other works. And there is a wonderful book whose title I can't remember off the top of my head, but she wrote a murder mystery novel where the narrator is the killer. And you as the reader don't know until the end. And he's not an unreliable narrator. The things that the narrator describes and tells you about are all true, but there is omission of facts, omission of truths, or the way that the truths are presented are just enough that if you aren't paying attention, you don't realise what's really going on. It's an incredibly clever book, and it relies very much on what the narrator doesn't write and doesn't say to get you to the end of the novel, and you go, oh my god, the person whose head I've been reading in all this time, he done it! He's the killer! It's really good. Sometimes what you don't say can be absolutely massive, but even without doing, say, a murder mystery, just with character interactions, the things characters don't say, or don't notice, or don't care about, can be huge as well.
Yep. This is fun to find, and this is fun to find out.
Yes, and it's again those sort of levels of competence as you learn to write. It's why we here on the ranting stream appreciate fan fiction, because it's giving new writers building blocks to play with and start learning the craft. But it's like all arts. You have a hierarchy of art evolution. You start at one point, and the more you do and the more you expose yourself to, the more tips and tricks and skills that you start being able to build into your own work, and the things that you notice. One of the best pieces of writing advice that's out there is read more. If you want to write better, read more. Because the more you expose yourself to things, the more you notice. It's great.
It's almost like you need a vocabulary there.
Yes.
In order to write a book.
Yes, and I mean, it's the same for visual arts as well. Is you need a visual library to draw from, to draw things. You need sort of a mental library to write a good book.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I've been working on a project with Iden, and finally I think I cracked the visual style I wanted, that I can go into.
Having
which is
seen what
nice.
you're working on, it is wonderful. I need to beat Aiden over the head with a stick to make sure he is doing his side of that project at appropriate speed. But I'm looking forward to it because what you've been doing is really cool. Really, really cool.
It's fun. It's the first time I'm doing something like this, and it is literally visual vocabulary for me. It's not something I know how to, so I have to develop it. And by flexing those muscles, you get better.
Yes.
Same goes for writing.
Yes.
Write more, read more, do more.
Overcoming the blank page is one of the earliest steps, and opening yourself up to the wide world of skills and interests. I see you're introspective, you said, about thoughts on a scrap of your own novel. By all means, DM me or reach out to me somewhere. I will be happy to look at it for you. Just a sort of side note, we do have a... Mad Ducks, I'm going to throw things at you. Get out. And be careful lifting the heavy things.
Stay, Ducks, stay.
We do have
we will throw things at you, but stay.
We do have a writing server, the Black Page Legion. It is newly started up, and I'm hoping to give some more time to it over this weekend. This week's been weird. For people who are working on novels, who want feedback on their writing, who are willing to give feedback on other people's writing. It's just a cozy, warm space if you would like adding to this server, and you just want to talk about writing and nothing more than writing, DM me. I will get you a link, and yeah, we do fun things over there.
You have to ask.
Yes.
And this is for you, Chad, as well. You should know, Lady Red will take on just about any project. She sat down with me and went through a basic TTRPG system I'm developing as a writing project. So it can be weird. Do not be afraid to ask. And also, is that space somewhere I should bring that project of mine into?
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. If whatever you're doing, if it is writing based, if it has some written element to it, whether it's a TTRPG, whether it's non-fiction or fiction, if it's poems, if it's a play that you're writing or a screenplay, or whatever you're doing, if it involves writing, this server is the appropriate place for it.
I want in.
Okay, I will get you a link after stream. Be very happy to extend that to other people as well. It's somewhere I'm expecting to spend a lot more time next year because of what my next year plans look like. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Plans next year.
Yeah. Well, I've started some of my plans already. We've started the nice visual compendium, which that's going to get finished next year. That is my big push in the early year. But I've also restarted my book club. I've started reading to my book club again on Saturday nights, and we've started with the Battletech romance because I refuse to be alone with this horrible story, or just to have it between like Doctor Who and I. I am now making other people suffer through it. It took us 3 hours to get through 2 chapters.
Dear God. and here I am starting my own book club.
Yes. I think yours is going to be a lot more sensible than my book club. My book club is mostly about misery.
No chance in hell. The subject matters are going to be slightly more famous, but that's it. It's going to be just as silly. We're going to discuss the hem of the cloth of, I don't know, Italian nobles in late medieval era. I don't know. This is the sort of people. What sort of shoes do they wear?
See, you're already far more erudite than what I do, which is listen to this shit, chat. I see Doctor Who can hear the beagles. They have just returned from the park. They are currently yelling at Aiden for their lunch because after play we must eat. This is very important because, beagles are basically toddlers. They are fluffy toddlers and made of the exact same amount of terrorism. Pets are being redeemed, please, dear.
They are being given.
Pets are being administered. Yeah, I know. You're never going to let that go, Doctor Who, and rightly so. Ceres is terrorist prime.
I've got one for Doctor Who that might make him feel better.
Oh, what's that?
There was a point where Anka waited till she caught my eye, and then while maintaining eye contact, peed on the beanbag chair.
Oh, lovely. So Anka has learnt from her mother and just looked Aiden in the eye while she peed on the beanbag chair. That is wonderful. It's a good thing we have a
combination.
very large washing machine.
Sounds like a strategic investment at this point.
Yes, very much so. One beagle is a joy. 2 beagles are wonderful and will wear each other out. 3 beagles are just a menace.
In my current run of my personal Minecraft server, I have taken it upon myself to have 2 beagle-like dogs.
Excellent.
In not memory, in reference, in honor of Anka and Saris, and I'm looking for a 3rd one.
Excellent. You need a pip.
Yes, I do need a pip, but 2. Here you go. Two beagle dogs. I'm very glad they added new pelts for the dogs in Minecraft. Anyway, more important stuff. So how was the book club?
The book club was very, very fun. It was lovely to get the gang back together for terribleness once again. And, everybody had a lot to say. We had a fun time with it. We went and did some wiki walking about certain things so that we could complain accurately, which was very fun. And I did get to read my sort of serious version of what I would do for the Battletech romance if I had written it and meant it to be like a proper book, not just a joke. I think that's about 3,300 odd words that I wrote, and I got to read that to my book club, and they seem to really enjoy that. So, yay, I can actually write.
Yes, you can. And don't you forget, at some point you're going to inflict it on this chat as well. You promised.
That was what we've started doing. We've been working through the book-making process, and yes, you were indeed threatened that Chapter 1 would continue until morale improved, and it did, and then Chapter 2 also. Come on,
I've
OBS.
been talking and yammering.
Reconnection successful. Saris, could you please not? Okay, so apparently the internet's going to do this week. We've had, a whole month where this didn't happen, and today it now must.
Come on.
I think I've decided that the reason is clearly that the internet doesn't like Saris shouting at it. It's your fault, Saris. It is the Beagle's fault.
Can we really not blame chat for that?
I mean, we blame chat for so much else, but yes, it's also your fault, chat. There you go. It is also your fault.
This assuages my soul. Knowing the chat is to blame.
And I was just beginning to witter about, relevant things, like the fact that we've been going through the bookmaking process and we've been doing our bullet pointing so we know, the sort of roadmap of where our story's going and how that led us to our great and awesome decision last week.
Yes, where we eat.
Yes, where we consume
the brains of other mechs.
Yes, we're consuming multiple corpses in this book at this point. We have 17 wonderful viewers here with us at the moment. Is there anybody here who wasn't here last week who needs catching up, or do we want to just move straight into things this week? Because I am fine either way. Anka, that was a very loud shriek, my girl.
It says her mother had her on her back and was giving her the business.
The girls have decided it is wrestle o'clock. Okay, I'm not seeing anything coming in from chat, so let me move my Scrivener over to our bullet point outline.
I will just say one thing
Yes.
to chat. As a little bit of homework before we get into everything, everybody who might want to have the eye of a professional master world-class biologist looking into our weird fantasy story and sci-fi and discover where exactly the salations and or Archeer people are breeding from. If you have questions or want ideas from someone who actually studied everything and does clades of dragons, we now have that at our disposal. I want a list of questions because I want to go through that list of questions and add to our compendium something that would be not entirely science approved article, but at least attempting.
Yes. So for anybody who doesn't know, Lictor has a wonderful, highly educated friend who did a dissertation on D&D dragons for biology, and it's just wonderful. And she has agreed to witter with us about Shoal at some point, if we so wish. So if you have a list of sort of biological questions or anything that you're interested in, from a science adjacent and very clever person, we can pull that together and book a date with her.
I will just point out the thing was that the dissertation was for her masters about the clades of dragons as presented through various art forms in the D&D various editions.
Yes,
It was accepted.
of course. A lot of work can go into that.
Yeah, apparently the math works, no matter how crazy the art is. if you math it hard enough, dragons can also into clades. And I will let you pass this however you want.
Doctor Who says, so Polychromatica said I need to catch up. I've slept since last stream. Doctor Who says, read in an attempt to get us onto recapping. I think I have a scene in my head about the Chimera Titan. Everyone's huddled around, hushed and concerned. Hordaka, almost whispering, asks, are you there? Insert Titan name. The Titan stirs and responds, he's here, but I'm more. I'm an echo of an ancient song. It is a baleful psalm. The characters refer to it as baleful psalm from there. Yeah, that's very cool. Let me pop that into our notes section.
That is awesome. Man, Hordaka is shaping up to be such.
It's almost like the people who come to this stream are all inherently creative and excellent people. Yes, thank you, dear. Please go pacify the beagles.
I'm trying, believe me.
Beagle pacifying.
Yes, he has just walked out with some Himalayan chirpies to give them something to chew on. Okay, there we go. Right, let's move back to the 5-act structure over here. Okay, so we do want to do a bit of a recap, which is completely fine. We've got plenty of time. We've only witted for half an hour so far of this stream. I'm proud of me.
We are exceedingly punctual.
Oh, Doctor Who has bought a few Terry Pratchett books. Excellent.
Which ones?
Yes, let us know which ones you've picked up.
You do not get to go on your day like that. Exactly, Wilf. Wilf asks the correct question.
I look forward to finding out. Okay, well, while Doctor Who types that out, I will do our recap. So we are writing a pulp action-adventure story in the vein of The Mummy, Indiana Jones, etc., etc. We've decided that we're going to start with a prologue, an action scene, with a weapon striking a raiding pirate group who is fleeing an armed group of villagers behind them. The lead pirate swears and points out the faint worn-down spires of a nearby reef outcropping for shelter. As the group descends into the spires to hide, we realise that this is the top of an abandoned city. One of the fleeing pirates murmurs some legend about the place being haunted and they shouldn't go there. The rest of the group complains that they need somewhere to hide the thing that they've just stolen, which we decided would be a Temp's bronze archive, so that they can, put it down and treat their wounded. Another shot from the pursuing group makes up their mind for them. They descend into the city, find a nook to hide their item in, and in doing so accidentally knock open a small channel into the sealed dead waters of the city below. This releases a suffocating stream of heavier water that will go on to kill the pirates when they rest nearby. The pursuing group halts at the edge of the city and withdraws. The pirates laugh it off, thinking they're just scared of the horror story. The pirates bed down for the night, and we decided that we weren't going to reveal that they just died until later, but that is a thing. Moving into our chapters, we decided we would open with our human character Jake in his personal hab environment, getting the call that the expedition he is part of is ready to move out within the hour. We see Jake packing the last of his things onto his pressure suit and travel trunk, which gives us a brief chance for reflection on why he's here, who he is, his area of expertise, etc. We were going to include a photo of his college research team and an introduction to his familiar Kilo, who is a AI. As he's moving his trunk to the moon pool to be loaded onto the library titan, Umi pops in and they have an initial discussion. This is our chance to see Elatical up close for the audience. There'll be a discussion of protocols, etc. Expedition plans will be revealed for audience benefit until there is a disruption outside. Jake hurries into his suit, follows after Umi to see what's up, and the disruption could be because of Jake's presence. Humans are still new on Shoal and maybe people are taking photos. We go outside into effectively a marketplace disturbance scene. This is the city that we're in. Song Gorge is a combat-oriented city with ritual jewels. Umi encourages Jake to collapse his hab down and get his trunk onto the library titan. This lets us see the library titan arriving, the Tide Warden titan arriving. It breaks up the dispute in the marketplace, and the audience gets to see the awe and might of titans in action. Jake joins the party for the next steps. The expedition moves out quite quickly, in part not to be part of any extended trouble in town, and in part because they need to make sure they make their rendezvous with the travelling fleet city that they're heading for, because the city will not wait for them. En route, we get a chance to see our cast of characters, and Umi explains not just who Jabra is and why she's been hired. She was hired in Song Gorge. Jabra is our ceratinoid character, our crab ex-pirate queen. We decided that the party would start on the upper edges of Song Gorge in the trade and passing through district, just so that we don't have to come all the way up from the abyssal depths just to go back down again. We also made the decision that we were going to play with the themes of light to dark as our story goes on, and also shallow to deep. The group meets up with the migratory fleet and stows its gears, titan and personnel on board for a 2-day journey with the fleet. Tension and character interactions are shown through distrust of the fleet when Jabra comes on board. Careful rules and regulations are in place for where the group is allowed to go. Umi heads off with the library guardian to check the supplies they've arranged to get from the fleet, and this leaves Jake with some free time to explore the open areas of the fleet and bond with Hordaka, our Tide Warden pilot. There'll be maybe some initial discussion of Titans here.
We could probably name the fact that the library guardian is Max.
Yes.
We should, if we're already reviewing,
Mags,
we might as well.
yeah, Mags is the pilot, if I remember correctly, because it's short for Magarel.
Is the old Cephalid.
Echo is the name of the Titan, or its colloquial name is Echo. One event that happens of significance during the transitory prose is that Benny is parked on the fleet at present, noticed by Jake, who has no idea the relevance, so we just describe Benny in passing and maybe he gets mentioned later. The expedition gathers for a pep talk from Umi as they prepare to decouple from the fleet and begin their descent. Mags gives a brief talk on the place they're going to and expected issues, nice and short and cribbed, like Ripley talking to the Marines and aliens. The group saddles up and begins their descent. Key points here focus that the party tethers to the Titans because they have the largest propulsion devices, and it gives us a chance to explore how Shoal works and what it's like operating underwater. Strong themes of light fading as they get deeper, and the potential here for someone on the expedition crew to tell a creepy story as they travel, possibly a Benny story. We then move into a grand sweeping look at the city as the expedition arrives, an initial look around the outskirts, analysis of the local environment, and acknowledgements of the presence of Quiet. Quiet is our animal illness risk vector. They are a psionic threat and, an issue to Shoaly people. Initial establishment of the group's campsite, notice movement in the nearby area, and it turns out to be a young shark girl from the local village, our Kier. She is very taken with the young Tidewarden mech and just wants to talk to it, despite the taboo from her village about going too close to the city. She makes quick friends with Hordaka, which will lead to a minor conflict when her father comes looking for her. Her father warns the group about troubles around the city, tells them to leave, but also mentions the missing archives stolen from his village. We decided that we were going to avoid the doomsayer trope. The father's level of warning is sensible and not a horror story cliche. He's not like, oh, everyone who goes into the city dies and never returns, and more, look, we know it's dangerous in there. You've got collapsing walls. It was abandoned for a reason. There's always far too much silence around here, and I don't want my daughter dealing with any of this, and I suggest you lot don't deal with it either. Normal worried father stuff. That night, the group discusses in brief what they know so far and the info from the father. As a result, they decide to be extra careful about setting a night watch for their rest hours. During the night, the awoken quiet drifts into their camp and is detected in time for them to deal with it, confirming suspicions the city isn't as dead as it looks. It's just that what lives here is very dangerous. Jake and Hordaka are the people on watch when this happens. Hordaka gets along with Jake best outside of Umi. Hordaka gets to shine here by noticing what Jake wouldn't have as a native to the planet. As they deal with the quiet, Jake catches his first whiffs of the song of the city. Jake also notices it gets silent at night with that lovely P in front that we like to use. We've decided that Jake, because he's not a native to Shoal, has an easier time detecting the different song of the city compared to the normal background song of Shoal that the Shoalie are attuned to. And it makes Jake a more compelling and useful character to our narrative. In the morning, the expedition explores more. The Titans are critical to protecting the group from the quiet, moving heavy items, and they have to start dealing with the unique wildlife that has adapted here. Psionics are rare here due to the amount of silence in the area, so creatures that still benefit from it are very keen to get their jaws into the Titans. The group fights off Titan attacking leech horrors. This leads the group to one of the Temps towers. When we described our ancient city, we decided it would have a central library spindle, and then it's got multiple towers around the exterior of the city that used to feed into it before everything died. So that's one of those towers we're talking about. Jake throws up from experiencing residual cephalonid memories, and the group learns a routine. They ping the towers, use terrain to handle the nasty critters in the area until they clean them out, and Jake tries to pinpoint where the song he's hearing is coming from. This will be the point in the story where they pass through the temple complex, which will be a very creepy part of our book, and into the abandoned armory and barracks. We decided that statues in the temple are made of coral. The Shoalie find them weird because they are silent, due to the silence haven't eaten the coral inside of them. So for them, these are dead statues. Jake finds it weird because they don't have any features, so this allows us to explore the dichotomy between Shoalie and human cultures, and where we put our importance on bonding elements. They make a temporary shelter point halfway inside the abandoned barracks. It's a chance to explore the technology found here and also have a meal so that the audience can see Shoalie cooking. We'll have a discussion of what the items in the armory would have been used to repel, especially as this city predates Titan technology. Discussion will then move into the fact that the kind of leviathans that this stuff was made to deter, those leviathans aren't around here. But there's no good reason why those leviathans shouldn't have returned since the city fell. So this is weird, TM. It's also weird that the silence in the area hasn't naturally died off. This isn't how silence normally works. The group uses the Titans to clear the barricaded far side of the barracks, which allows them into sections of the city that are still untouched. We decided this would have to be sort of heading underground to allow for the containment of the water and the things that we're doing, and also to provide an environment that makes sense for our scientists who were working here, and of course the actual problem we're going to uncover. The initial water inside the new area is dead. Unprotected Shoalie will be killed swimming in it. Jake gets to go in first because he's in a hab suit. The Temple Guardian is too big to follow, but gives Jake a remote camera to take with him. Jabra has an exploratory gill kit to let her accompany him for short periods. The kit's going to have come from her pirate days. It will take a day or two for the water to become habitable for the rest of the group. This is now untouched archaeology, and the discoveries and threats ramp up accordingly. We are now finding undisturbed carvings and wall paintings that have survived and detail the closing days of the city. The murals of the city's closing days do not match with the silence issues the team is currently encountering, and they don't know why. The Shoalie know they need to try to find surviving Temps coral because it will be much more accurate. The paintings and carvings are crude, as normally Shoalie people just use Temps to record things. This drives Jake to want to go deeper, looking for both the source of the song they can now all hear, and also some records the Shoalie can use to get a better idea of what had happened. Jake has a better feel for the visuals carved on the wall than the Shoalie do because this is more in line with human passing of information. As they delve deeper, Jake and Jabra come across a mummified cephalonid corpse. Jake is immediately concerned and empathetic and sorrowful and very human about this. Jabra isn't because she's a crab and has crab thoughts. Over the Vox bead, Mags asks Jake to look into the corpse's condition and tells him what to do to be respectful, but ultimately death is also to be expected, and this is just a chance to show the audience different ways Shoalie cultures and individuals think about the dead. Mags asks for the corpse to be brought back for study and consumption to add their memory to the song, which is a very librarian thing to do. The Laticals are a little bit uncomfortable about this because that doesn't match with what their normal culture is, but this does make sense overall, and Jake gets to see how different Shoalie cultures reconcile their differences. After retrieving the corpse, the group falls back to their main base and goes over what they found. They visit, or are invited to, the local village and decide to spend a day or so learning local legends to give the new tunnels time to air out so that when they return, everyone can enter together. While at the Shark Village, they learn the local legends about the downfall of the city, and curiously, they hear for the first time legends about some other threat still buried in the city's depths, post-dating its destruction. There are no records of this in any of the current library records, so the group is very interested. Some of them think it's just local ghost stories, some of them think it could be based in fact. Ultimately, there is only one way to find out. They have to go and see. We then move into sort of the peak of Act 3. The team returns from the village. They go to bed with intent to really delve deeper into the city in the morning. They leave their main base to journey to the barracks outpost, and when they arrive, they find the Archaea girl is already there, curious and wanting to know more. It would take too long to take her back, so she's allowed to tag along, possibly inside of the Library Titan. As they press through the area that's now vented from before, the main team looks at the carvings again, now with knowledge from the village. The carvings make a bit more sense in context, and the team is able to figure out some of what the dying were trying to impart. The Shark Girl, watching from the library mech, is able to add her insight, which helps them get a very solid idea of the order of events that led to the city's downfall. When questioned, she confirms none of this is related to the stories of later doom in the city that her village talks about. The main team makes it into the first of the ancient grow chambers that once would have been used for aquaculture. The team pauses here to look for the original cargo access, and while it's still a little small for the Titans, it is big enough to let the mechs inside if they clear the rubble and deliberate collapse from the outside. While the mechs are making their way into the area, Jabra looks a little bit deeper, seeking out the passage into the deeper growing caves. Jabra initially looks to the passage deeper out of pragmatism, but as she does so, things don't feel right to her. Yes, these are old growing caves, but the collapsing to the entrances is too convenient. Someone collapsed things in a specific way to make the place more defensible, and it almost assuredly postdates the dead cephalonid. Once the Titans make their way in, Hordaka is sent ahead to catch up to Jabra and check things ahead are safe, for fear of more leech monsters. When he does so, he finds her contemplating a collapsed hallway ahead, and she's running her claws over a trinket in her hands, deep in thought. When Hordaka interrupts her and asks for a status report, before she can go into her perception, Hordaka notices that the trinket is from a Tide Warden core, which leads to an argument and a confrontation. Important information, therefore, does not yet get shared as personal issues take the forefront. Jake gets involved in the argument, seeking to cool things down, as the two Shoalie are going at each other, and Hordaka accidentally damages Jake's suit. Jabra is first on the ball to help with that because obviously Jake is the least suited to this environment, and this lets us see Jabra as more than just her brusque exterior, though she downplays it and stalks off. Jake and Jabra are both experienced in shipboard culture and watching the back of your crewmates. This is partly why Jabra steps in, and one of the things they have bonded over, though Jake might be less aware that Jabra thinks anything positive of him than is the actual truth. Hordaka is extremely apologetic, helps Jake make sure his suit has full integrity before they go deeper, and this lets us hint at future issues if things get dangerous. Jake is ill-suited for the world that he's on. We get a small look at his internal fears and Kilo's ability to help him stay calm. I'm going to pause for just a moment to have a drink and make sure you're still with me, chat.
Here, here.
Excellent. Alrighty, I will continue and fully catch up on chat after we get through the recap. The team moves deeper, both to catch up with Jabra and to continue their mission. Jake can hear the song extremely clearly now, but so can the Shoalie. The Archaea girl comments on the subtext of the song, as she's pretty familiar with it from her adventures close to the city. She points out that while the majority of the song is old and out of contact with the main song of Shoal, it isn't just a repetition of the ancient song that once sounded here. It has a note of caution in it, which is newer than the original song. This again hints at the real problem in the city. In the third growing cave, the team finds the remnants of bioengineering equipment and experiments. This initial cave does not contain the babies that are our real problem in the story. It was for far less egregious experiments, but this is where the team first realises the truth of the legends of the village. There are dead Salatian scientists here, clearly younger dead than the Cephalonid. There is equipment here in great disrepair that clearly postdates the Forge Wars and Titan technology. The team opts to make a temporary outpost here for the night so they can try to find any records or details of what the fuck this is and what was going on, and they don't want to have to travel a half day back to the barracks only to come back in the morning. Thus, they send a messenger drone to the village to let the Archaea know that the girl is with them and safe, and they'll bring her home tomorrow night. The team finds a discarded Temps coral. On it are the personal recordings of one of the scientists that worked here. The remembrances let them know that not only did a faction of Sulayan come here to continue bioexperiments after the imposition of control measures in Sulayan, but they were also working on a much, much bigger project deeper in, which the scientist doesn't go into detail about but has huge misgivings over. The misgivings mostly focus on the issue of what happens if the quiet containment protocols go awry. From this, the expedition team takes that the worry was that containment holding quiet at bay was the concern, and clearly that's been breached and thus needs cleaning up. When in fact, of course, the worry is that the quiet wasn't there to be contained, it was the containment for the babies of the supercavitating underwater Valstrax that's the actual problem in the city. Thus, the team doesn't take the right information from the recording, they make the wrong call once they go deeper. In the fourth chamber, they find the Quiet Production Centre. The team is horrified by the scope and interest of the scientists of the past. There are dead scientists in here too, and Mag suggests cannibalising one of them into the library to try and find out more. Confronted with this much silence, however, the team decides to begin cleansing protocols while Mags does her analysis. During this process, Jake unwittingly unleashes the babies. This happens because as he is cleansing an area of quiet, he notices the cold of the silence leaking out of what was thought to be a wall. He brushes over it and realises it is an immense piece of scientific equipment. Just as he clears enough of the grime and the water clears for him to see what's inside, he realises that there is a deliberate vent into the chamber. The quiet has been swarming around this, but now that the cure is moving through the area, it moves into the equipment chambers, kills the local quiet, keeping the babies asleep, and as it tries to neutralise them, because they're quiet infused, they wake up screaming, angry, and promptly break out of the very old and thus now very fragile containment. Once the babies wake up, the first sounds they make attract nearby slumbering leech monsters which flood into the chamber. The babies are also ravenous. The library mech is unable to move right now as it is processing the corpse, and there just won't be time to get it moving before everyone is in serious trouble. Hordaka moves in to help as best he can with his mech, while everyone else falls back. Mag stays in her cockpit to override the sample bay and let the shark girl out. This means she doesn't have time to get away herself. One of the babies supercavitates at the mech, cores the cockpit, and instantly kills Mags. Hordaka falls back to gather up the shark girl, they scramble back a room, and Hordaka uses his Titan to collapse the tunnel all over again. The team falls back in brief shock. They know that they need to do something about the problem that they've now unleashed. Umi tells them what he thinks those babies are, and that if there's any way to deal with them, they need to get back to the library Titan. Whoever worked on this wasn't developing a new virulent type of silence. They had weaponized silence and moved on to weaponize the Abyss itself, using silence as its guardian jaws. The Titan has multi-cores, the library Titan that is, has multi-cores due to its size, and while the control core has been obliterated, the main core, including the data from the dead scientist, will be in the centre of the mech behind the samples hold. They need to recover the mech to find a solution, not to mention that it is an aged and important mech, and Umi is a librarian and considers it something of a friend, and god damn it, leave no Shoalie behind. Jabra makes the reasonable point that they aren't going to be able to just waltz in and carry out the largest mech that they have with just the few of them. She is, however, aware that this is a problem, TM, and they need to get at least the core out. Umi and Jabra argue for a bit. Jake makes the point that none of it matters if they all just get eaten trying to go back in anyway. They need to assess the situation before any plan can happen. The group makes use of what little works in the armory to arm up Hordaka's Titan in the hope that he can at least be a distraction, then they return to the chamber. Good news, bad news. Kilo gets a clear picture of the chamber. He captures the babies, rupturing out of the wall to the outside. This lets the team know what the babies look like, etc. It also means that now the only threat inside the chamber at present is the leech monsters. This is more manageable than trying to fight the babies to get to the library Titan. The team breaches in. Hordaka fends off the leeches long enough for the others to get to the library Titan. The Titan isn't moving. It's very dead and has taken extra damage from the babies in the interim, though its core is still intact. The sample bay is ruptured open so they can easily get inside, but they will need to carve into the core chamber to retrieve it. At this point, it's clearly going to have to be done Jabra's way. Jabra is going to be the one who gets to get the core. One of the babies notices the commotion behind it and turns to come back. Jake and Umi go to what remains of the cockpit, and Umi tells Jake he needs to pilot it, in so much as the mech can be piloted. Jake points out that it's dead, he isn't a pilot, and there's nothing he can do. Umi says, "It's not a dead machine, Jake. It's grieving. It's in shock. But unless we move it, we're all dead, including its memories. Make it move." Jake, with Umi's help and support, is able to activate the mech just long enough to grab the baby with one of the sampling arms and rip it apart just before Jabra pulls the core. Pulling the core is what prevents Jake from taking immense psionic feedback, but Umi still has to pull him out and they retreat with Hordaka back to the safety of the barracks. The other babies, however, are still loose. Back at the barracks, Jake is not in a good way. For all the feedback he received was vastly reduced, he is still not trained, humans can't pilot mechs for a reason, and he has the epic brain scrumbles. He now also has a Lichtenberg scar, just like Umi does. The Archaea girl soothes and helps look after him. She says this is why her village doesn't trust mechs, they can be so dangerous and hurt people. However, she also sees the good they do and knows Hordaka's Titan is the only thing that will save her village. The group ruminates on the fact that the babies, now they are loose, will go after the shark village once there are no more leech monsters to eat, and they already killed quite a few of the leech monsters, oh dear. Jabra points out that the core they just saved is useless as it is. It can only really tell them anything if it's in a mech. If they are to save thousands of immediate lives, the migratory city will be back soon after all, they need to access the info now, especially as if they don't and these things reproduce, the whole planet will be in danger. Umi, while he can do the splice in the field, is very against it. This is risky, and this is not how this sort of thing is done. Hordaka's mech is still very young. This will be a massive technical challenge, mental challenge, and also ethical challenge. We go down a rather Ghost in the Shell kind of route here, talking about the merging of cores creating a new person in Hordaka's mech compared to who he has been so far. Ultimately, the choice has to be the mech's. It is a person, it is treated as a person, and thus it gets a say. It chooses to try. Hordaka is distraught, worrying he will lose the friend and companion he only recently got to know. The mech reassures him that he won't be subsumed, he'll be the sum of all parts, and Hordaka is his pilot. He will remember. This is a big deal for them, as it might be for us singular living... As it might be... Yeah, okay, yeah, I did write that right. Big deal for them as it might be for us single living mega-organisms. Coral thoughts can be far more agreeable to such a rebirth. Giving the mech a say is a contrast with Kilo and human AI being distinctly not people, but Kilo would still understand the Titan's perspective. Umi makes the point that they need more materials than they have on hand for this to work anyway. They need Temps coral. They decide to plunder the Temps coral in the heart of the city, building the ancient song into the mech to come. We talked about this as just sort of thematic options, but I can think of a good reason they would do this in setting. The ancient song might have more of an instinctual thought process for dealing with the babies, seeing as its song had warped to try and warn about them. There we go. Okay, let's carry on. When the new Titan awakes after the splice, we had originally said that he'd say, "I'm the old song Bale psalm." Doctor Who's given us a slightly different line that will work even better, and he will become eventually known as Notes from the Unrequited Storm, as his formal librarius name, due to the nature of his core. That was where we were at last week. How are we doing, chat?
Yes, chat. How are we doing?
All right. If you've picked up Reaper Man Doctor Who, that is a very, very good book. Bully Snake says, because she's a crab and has crab thoughts is a sentence with layers in and of itself. Please work it into the final version somehow. We can absolutely work that in, yes.
And then, for no particular reason, the turtle people sang a song of exposition. I don't even know where to put that. We don't have turtle people.
Thankfully, we do not currently have turtle people because I think we'd cause problems with that. We're bad enough with crabs as it is. Idea, Jake spends the rest of the adventure speaking through his suit via Skulljack because he's effectively in a coma. I don't think I want to go quite that far, but yes, we should definitely have how he's behaving after that event definitely change, and we definitely need to play on the level of the weakness that he's at least for a bit. The call between using the city's coral and the village archive should be something discussed in character. It's a choice the characters make. Absolutely. Absolutely. As sort of the gods of this setting where we're putting everything together, we made that for a narrative reason, but of course it has to be made as a in-character reason in the narrative, otherwise it just becomes Deus Ex Machina-y or sort of MacGuffin-y, and we don't want that. Snapping turtle people would be a real problem, yes. I believe we have snapping turtles. I think that's in our compendium somewhere. We do have snapping turtles.
We should have snapping tortoise. I really like that beast.
Yes, they are very, very cool. So that was where we'd left off last week, which had sort of taken us fully into Act 3. We had our climax where, oh dear, we've let things go. We'd moved into Act 4 with the falling action of them falling back. Major turning point, attempt to contain the issue. We kind of had that with our partial success. We kind of did that with our Titan thing, is we know that the babies have gotten out, but one of them is dead at least, and we've managed to grab the things that we need to try and fix the problem. So we're kind of moving into Act 5 now, where we're starting with the catastrophe, which is the babies are loose and we've got to do something about it. So before we get started with bullet pointing how we want the closing act of our book to look, I'm going to hop up and use the restroom briefly. And then we'll start pulling those notes together at the top of the hour, like we know what we're doing and that we're organised and clever people.
It is fine. Fine. I'll take it. You go.
Just before I do, Polygrammatic Gothrop says, I would recommend not connecting your sentience holding pudding into the Brain Scrambler 9000, Jake. Jake's AI, right before he plugs into the Brain Scrambler 9000. Thank you, Kilo.
Thank you, Kilo. This is most helpful. The manual says, scrombulating your brain is not advised. Please refrain from scrombulating your brain. No, not every good book ends with child murder. Actually, Wolf, I can point you to a whole host of them which do not end that way. In fact, the fact that you think that it ends that way is concerning. Please step close enough to the window, where we may see you clearly, and ponder the red dot. Exciting.
I return.
Hello. We are nearly 1 hour in, and we've already done the wittering and the
recap. Yeah, I know. Amazing. We are productive this week.
Yes, we are. I'm glad you noticed. Let's be on it then.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe.
So last week for me was a keystone week because we hit the thing that happens, at least for me, with most books that I write. there will always come a moment where I'm working through the general idea of the story that I know I want to tell. And as I'm going through it and I'm starting to put bullet points in so that I know that this is going to lead to that, is going to lead to that, I get to a point where all of a sudden there'll be like this moment of dawning comprehension. Pip, you don't need to grumble. I do get dawning comprehension sometimes, where I can see the story that wants to be told with just like some nugget or twist or something that suddenly turns up from thinking about the story in depth that slightly changes things from where I originally thought it was supposed to go. And for me, that feeling is it's like a drug. It is the high of storytelling. And we had that last week where we went, well, we know that we wanted to turn the Library Titan into a chimera, but we originally thought that was going to happen at the end of the story in the denouement once they got back to the library that sent them out, and it would be like this grand sort of almost reward ceremony where the old core gets grafted into another Library Titan. It becomes an even more prestigious and esteemed. That was kind of where we thought it was going to go. And then as we're doing our bullet points last week, it's just suddenly we saw that, no, this needs to happen in the field, and the mech that we have is going to become this chimera out of necessity, and it's going to make it unique, and there's going to be all these character interactions and weight and you know, sort of the experience of being a sentient alive thing with emotions and complex thoughts, and what does it mean to be a person, etc., etc. We hit that last week. We hit that point, and for me that is the best thing. It is why I love writing so much, is when those moments happen, and it was a true joy to get to go through that with chat. How does Shoal express boredom? They sigh with a P in front of it. Bully Snake!
Bully Snake, please see yourself to the foyer. Go to the atrium. Please go sit there for a little while. Then come back. We want you with us, but still. Excuse yourself.
Go and sit in timeout for 5 minutes and think about what you've done. So for me, last week was kind of the crowning peak of planning a book, and that moment when it usually happens is always a joy, and it was genuinely a joy for me seeing chat light up and all the ideas you guys started pouring in as we got to that moment. So we're now kind of on the far side of that epic discovery in finishing our book out and how we want to make all of this have meaning. So I hope you guys enjoyed last week as much as I did, and that the story that we've been telling is interesting to you. Right, let's not have that do that. Let's stick here. Okay, so we're kind of really looking at Act 5 at this point. So we know we need to spend some time...
Introspective. Join Bully Snake in the foyer.
What did introspective do? Let me come and see. What do you call a ceratinoid who never goes out? A hermit crab. Yes, please also report to the atrium and go and think about what you've done. We need to spend some time...
look outside.
Means for Hodaka's Titan to now be Bale Psalm. The effect this has on the team, and of course reflect on Jake's condition, as he has been through a somewhat life-changing trauma too. Okay, so we'll make sure we harp on that. Alright, so we're now very much going to be in Act 5. It is catastrophe o'clock. The babies are loose. They are making for the shark village. The team doesn't think they can catch up in time, nor will there be time to send a warning drone to let them know. Okay, so
Pull up a little bit so they can see
yep,
what you're...
I've just
typing.
scrolled.
Also life-changing trauma, not a drama. Last sentence before the spacing. 3 bullets up. Trauma. It is catastrophe o'clock. Wonderful.
Yep.
Babies are loose. Aiming for the Shoal village. The team.
Okay, so this is going to be the section where we really want to reflect on character goals, how they have changed, how the various misbelief about the world sections we wrote have now shifted with new knowledge. This is our section where character bonds are no longer tested, but I can type, I swear, but established and solid, and will form the backbone for the heroics to come. Hordaka and his Titan intend to try and fight the babies if they can get to the village in time. Concerns from the rest of the crew that they are intending to suicide mission. This is where Jabra and Hordaka need to have I'm going to call it a come to Jesus moment just because it's good shorthand. Use this moment between them where they put their differences aside. Jabra respects Hordaka's bravery and connection to his mech after the scene in the caves. Hordaka comes to understand she is more than just I don't want to put shallow pirate because that's going to make us think of depths. Just a basic pirate. Her raiding knowledge, skills, etc. are what he will need to be able to not only catch up to the babies, but also corral and direct them into a zone where he can fight them properly. So that lets those two have their moment of coming together. Let's see what chat is saying. Have we got any thoughts? Did I save the seed of a scene you made earlier? Yeah, airing of the grievances. I'll have a look in just a second, Doctor Who. I do think I have your DM message it, but the thing you typed in chat today, it's in the thoughts to use section. I do have that. You're right. We should cover. You are quite right. We do need to go back into stuff we did last week. Yes. So this will be last week. Umi makes the point they need more materials than they have on hand for this to work. They need Temps coral. They decide to plunder the coral from the heart of the city. Right. It's going to be in this section here.
Yeah. There is there should be at least a note of the sensation of desecration.
Yes. There. All right. So what notes do we want to make on the coral heist and how we want to do this? The team is...
The team has to penetrate a decrypt and fragile Temps coral reservoir and manage to... I think this is where Umi's back out as a librarian, because Mags is no longer with them, right?
Yes.
So this is where Umi has to shine. They need to get into the coral, gather whatever surviving temps they can, and utilize it. So this is where Umi and his experience comes to the fore. Also, this is a very good spot for the Alkia to shine a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's an Alkia. She is big, strong, and supposedly more capable, decidedly more capable than Jabra to do the delicate uh, process. Do Archaea use Sucella like salations?
Yes.
So yeah, I think this would be an excellent point to also extrapolate that she has Sucella specifically useful for this mission of collecting and hoarding the temp squirrel, which may raise questions as to why doesn't Alcadillo join the team and he's so interested in Titans and also has miraculously Susella specifically useful for collecting temp squirrel. Question.
So does this lead us then to perhaps the girl and her father were guardians slash maintainers of the archive that got stolen at the beginning of the book?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, why is she doing all of this aside? I mean, her dad is not being an idiot. He's sending her off, but
yeah.
she does have a point. They need their temp squirrel back.
This leads me to a really good thought for later on down. When it gets to catastrophe o'clock, Jabra's going to be useful. The Archaea girl, who has mentioned often about the missing temps archive from her village, points out that the babies will likely try to eat it first, which should slow them down if they can. Yes, so long as the babies can sense the archive, they will go to it. If the team responds fast enough, they can not only catch up to the babies, but also hopefully save the majority of the missing archive into the bargain. And that's how they catch up to the babies that have got the head start on them and can supercavitate.
Yes.
At high speed. All right, let's go back to our coral heist. Okay, what threats do we want to have turn up? This is going to be the area of the city that was, the most offended. It survived the longest. What threats do we want to have happen here? I'm thinking Jake won't be with them for this bit. He's staying back with
Maybe
we'll think about that.
Kilo is taking a little bit of damage and he needs to repair it.
I mean, we know Jake's in a bad way after trying to pilot Echo, so
more than he is trying to repair Kilo is trying to get him to move.
Yeah. Jake and Kilo stay back, which is why the Archaea's fine manipulation with the Sioux Seller is so helpful. They can't send in the tiny human mans to do the work. Just a little something we can play with there. Okay, so threats. There should be some threat inside the archive at some point. Let's see what chat is saying. The coral eats someone's face. They should use a grapnel launcher. We haven't had a good heist for a grapnel launcher. We're underwater. They don't work quite the same underwater.
Yeah, you don't need a grapnel. You can just swim.
Digiman has a report from Desert Bus for Hope 2025. The host played one of the worst games of all time for 6 days, 21 hours, and raised over $1 million. That is amazing. I know Desert Bus. I know about the charity event every year. That is incredible. Very well done to the guys over there. They do this every year like insane people. All right.
Nice.
Doctor Who seems to be having ideas. Oh dear. Maybe something like Cordaka going, look, I don't give a shit, you're a pirate, so you're all I've got right now. Well, I don't give a shit, period. But if I had someone like you watching my back, we might live longer. Yes, yeah, we'll get to have our sort of pithy dialogue when we get to that bit, reconciling those two. This is why she is vocal about them not harvesting the village's archive for the chimerization. Yes, it's her duty to protect and maintain it. Yep. Yeah, so that will definitely come up when they're having that discussion in character. She has a good reason for them not to do that, but they also have a good reason to go for the ancient coral instead.
Excellent. Also, Diggy, welcome.
Underwater, there's more of an anchor line, yes. And cannibalistic coral. Okay, let's have a think about what our threats are going to be. So I do like the idea of... I don't think we need to use the babies to do it, because the whole point is, oh no, the babies are already heading out. We're going to have to catch up to them. We've got all this stuff to do. We want the audience to feel that sort of time pressure and panic. It's going to be the sort of written equivalent of the Sonic is underwater and drowning music. So we don't want to use the babies for that, because the important thing is that, oh no, the babies have already left and this is a problem. So what we're going to do instead, I think, is that burrowing into the coral core could cause destabilization of the area. It was deliberately collapsed to protect it, but this hardly plays into structural stability. The more they tunnel in and extract, the more dangerous the whole area becomes. Falling rubble, collapsing areas are one of the threats to be dealt with. I think another threat will be the dying city elders enacted security protocols before they passed. This means that for some areas of the archive, once motion is detected, the coral is set to use disorientating memory pulses, which could cause major mental issues for the unprepared. Maybe in dealing with this part of the threat, our Archeer girl loses one of her Susella. How do we feel about that, chat? Yes, the babies are the villain here. We must not suffer the babies. The babies are very dangerous. We are here for baby murder. We came up with a name for the Valstrax last time. What was it? Let me go and get that for you. Because you're right, we did. It should be in here.
Rubble. Spelling ribble. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, spelling mistakes are to be expected. I have a pip on my lap. I'm not too worried about it. I just want the ideas on the paper right now. Okay.
Absolutely.
Scream of the Deep was what we named it in the end.
Scream of the Deep.
Yes, and then it has various
Screeching
other
Halt.
names. Screeching Abyss, God-Devouring Void, but Scream of the Deep is its most common name.
Yes. Good shit. Excellent shootout.
A brine pool flooding in could be interesting. Yeah, that could come as part of the structural collapse. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of these dead water pools.
part of the collapses lets in a dead water brine pool, which leads to a get out moment. See what else have we got, chat. The screams are chasing us, he screamed. Yes, we're now bursting boobily down the stairs underwater. Is this Eldritch? Because I have no context just showing up. I'm sure you can understand my confusion. We're not technically in Eldritch territory by design. We're not, summoning elder gods, but we do have a very strange setting here. We have a compendium, which I will link in a minute. I'll go grab the link to it. We have made an underwater mecha setting, Mr. Brushface. We have 5 sapient underwater races. We also have humans in the setting. We have a human character in our book. And we have a whole alien ecology of underwater creatures. So we've got leech monsters, the big bad threat in our story that we're currently writing are the bioengineered babies of a supercavitating underwater Valstrax, which is a jet dragon, if you're not familiar with Monster Hunter. So we have a giant leviathan, supercavitating death monster, and somebody bioengineered babies from it, and it's a problem. So, Never trust a mermaid? Yes, never trust a mermaid. Let me go and grab the link for Shoal, which is not showing up properly in my browser. That's interesting. Let's fix that. There we go. That is now fixed. Let me get this link, boop, and stick it over here in chat. I have not added any more to it since we first looked at this. That is coming. Time is against me, but I'm in my last project of the year, and as I've said, the early part of next year is going to be just pure Shoal, publishing everything that we've done into easy to access and enjoy formats for everybody. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to a miserable January, having the snow come in outside and sitting inside, furiously tapping away at my keyboard. One of the first things you should do when faced by an unnatural monster is not set up a breeding program. Yes, quite so, Wilf, and that is the moral of our story, is do not genetically engineer more monsters. One was bad enough. At least it's not a Furban mech. I don't know if you've seen the version 2.0 of our Furb Lord that Parallax has been working on, but once he does his test print and knows that it's working, I look forward to that cursing the universe with its presence. Parallax's modelling skills have significantly improved in all the worst ways. What if I want more monsters to fight? I mean, maybe don't put the whole planet in danger for the privilege. Hashtag Shoaly entitlement. Alrighty. So, anything else we want to add in on this heist? Is there any other sort of thing that we want to add in? Any climax moment to this particular element of the story? Personally, I think once they get what they need and get out, there is a moment back at the barracks base where some of the coral lifted fails to graft or do what Umi needs. They only barely have enough to complete the field graft, which has them all holding their breath and praying Hodaka's mech doesn't die as they re-initialize him. This could go horrendously wrong. Thankfully, it doesn't. Cool. Right, let's see. Anything else from chat? The risk makes the fight better.
Yes.
Most of the world. We can solve this problem. The orcs. We can make it worse.
Orcs. Aggravating problems since forever.
Yes. All right. I think I'm happy with where we're at with our skeleton for what's going on with that section. It'll get more fleshed out as we move into the actual prose for it. The sort of breathing text will give us a little bit more direction. But we know what our skeleton is. We know our roadmap. We know where we're going. Right, let's bring back our 5-act structure on this side and move back into our Act 5 section. Okay, so they've got Hordaka's mech back up and running. It's now Bale Psalm. Hordaka and Jabra are going to have their reconciliation moment because they need each other to solve this problem. The Arkir girl is going to make the very obvious point that, yes, we have a chance to catch up to this thing. It's going to find the archive from the prologue, which justifies why we had a prologue there. We wanted the audience to have the dramatic irony that is out there. This is going to be an all or nothing. The setup needs to be for an all or nothing gambit.
And now we need to make sure that it doesn't work.
One chance to get this right. The important thing here is that it will start right and does somewhat work, but ends in failure. We perhaps see 1 or 2 more of the babies eliminated, but at least 2, maybe 3 manage to get away.
I think they managed to get to the village.
Yes, because we did talk about plans that we had. Okay, let me move down a little bit because I think there'll be some stuff in between here. But we had said when we were originally doing this that the babies ultimately do make it to the village. Let me come back up here because I have a thought before I forget it. Okay, this will also give enough time for a warning drone to make it to the shark village. Possibly we could have Kilo have to be the drone sent, as he is faster than what they have on hand. This would mean leaving Jake in Umi's care, letting us further explore that bond and Jake's own mental resilience. Okay, so we did...
He's excellent. He's a robust little boy.
Yes. If we have to fight a horrid eldritch demon, we would just plug it into the internet and fill it with memes. The cursed cringe, the darkest corners of man's mind would scare it to death. Or you get Apocalypse Jim, one way or the other. Kilo is immune to silence too, that's true, so it would allow him to get back without being noticed. So yeah, I think it does need to be Kilo that gets sent.
Yep. Here's the thought. They are doing things Jabra's way. They do things Jabra's way, which Jabra is an excellent commander, has a wonderful tactical grasp of situations and how to move through space.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows her to corner and, with the help of the team, destroy 3 out of the remaining 5 babies.
Okay, Jabra's tactics intend to use the environment to their advantage. She wants to use something to lure the babies into a clustered area where she can limit their movement and drop the environment on them to pin them in place for dispatching. This is perhaps... Go on.
I think what she's doing is she's luring them into positions where the mech will, Baleful Soul can actually do something about it.
So this is my thought. She wants to use her own power to... okay, let's put this in order. So the plan would be... Hordaka distracts the babies long enough for Jabra to grab the village archive. She uses it to lure the babies under one of the old Temps spires.
They're going to go all the way to... No, wait. The archive is already in the city, right?
Yeah.
It was stolen.
Yes.
Great.
Once they are there, Hordaka, who have we got with us? Once they are there, Hordaka's mech will drop the spire on them, and Umi and Jake can perhaps help wake up the psionic ghost memories to stun the babies. This lets Hordaka move in with Bale Psalm to start dispatching them as they neutralize the babies. Unfortunately, the stun doesn't last long enough, and two of them working together shift enough of the debris off themselves to jet away, leaving a deafening boom in the water behind them, which in turn stuns the group. But also dispatches one more of their siblings due to proximity. This may be crush. No, I'm not going to worry about that at this point. That'll be something we discuss when we're in prose and see if that comes up. I'm thinking about whether this should be a case of the dead babies are pulped so that nobody can come back to get samples, so this problem can't ever happen again, or whether it's more interesting that perhaps the dead babies are left there and there's did somebody come and grab samples, or do we just never mention it again? Is it not important? We'll worry about that in the prose phase, I think. Where are we at?
Just one thing to put in. It's one of these points where let's make use of the fact that this is a reconnaissance and assault mech. We need to have a moment to let Baleful Psalm ruminate about the weapons it has available, because again, many brains in one, and then use the weapons the mech already has in a creative way, along with Jabra's tactic.
Okay.
Instead of using only environmental damage, let's use the mech and show off how cool they are.
Absolutely, I agree very much with that. Part of this plan is also based on Bale Psalm reviewing what weapons it has available, and its knowledge as an assault recon mech to use those in inventive ways, bearing in mind it also has stuff from the old armory, if that is relevant when we get to it. And this is combined with Jabra's tactics. We should show off how cool and powerful Titans are. Cool.
Like it. Okay.
That can be used to cause collapse as well. Big claw smash. Yeah, that's potentially an option. I think perhaps they may worry about the destruction of the city, stirred up residual silence, and is now extra. Well, we're not going to have too much of an issue with that because we have had the anti-silence cleansing measures put into place. So while there might be some, I don't think that needs to be a huge worry at this point, but that might be something that we should decide in the pros. Some of the final decisions that we'll make and some of the final tweaks that we'll make won't become apparent until we actually have set narrative in front of us, because as you begin actually writing and making sentences that make sense and flowing one part of the skeleton to the next, sometimes you have to make little changes because it doesn't feel right or it doesn't sound right, or you discover a little snag that you haven't covered for. So some of those elements might come in at that point. But yeah, I think we'll worry about what our long-term prognosis is for could samples of these babies be collected, what is the final state of the city, how dangerous is the area. I think we'll come to that either in the pros or while we're considering the denouement at the end. Okay, so
and also Bullisnek, I know you can do Big Claw Smash, but Big Claw Smash is, well, it is the basic option. We need to do something cool. And we need to do, it's a Ceratinoid designed mech. I agree, it has big smashy option, but it needs to have something else. It needs to have some shard launcher. It should have a, I don't know, they don't have focused beam weapons because this is silly underwater. but missiles, it should have an angry school of biting fish that bite into the environment and destroy it and spread acid all over you, all over the stuff. It's like it is this. We are in Shoal. The war crime is baked inside under a warm crust of volcanic eruption. It is. We're not dealing with bubbly Prussian tactics here. This is Shoal. Things should be horrifying, even when the good guys do it. Especially when the good guys do it.
I can't unclip you from across the hall. Ceres, come here.
How do we feel about a salvo of acid-laden, of corrosive, quicksilver-based weapon?
it certainly sounds interesting. When in doubt, fire ferrofuzz at the problem.
Oh dear God, ferrofuzz-based, ferrofluid-laden missiles that causes you to superheat from the inside.
That's a cool idea.
Can you imagine the amounts of energy needed this thing lodges inside the shell of your mech and superheats on the inside to fry your neural network?
I have made a note. Okay, so thoughts I'm having. The babies ultimately do make it to the village. There's now only 2 of them. The village has been warned and has marshaled what defences it has, but this is a village that doesn't rely on titans. Its Leviathan and threat deterrents are somewhat different and may perhaps include a very loud psionic pulse, but that pulse relies on the Temps archive to activate as it uses the myriad voices recorded in the archive to achieve its resonance.
I have a terrible thought.
What is your terrible thought?
I'm sorry, but I have a terrible thought.
What is your terrible thought?
Redaka feeding a bunch of feral fuzz at the beginning of the story and telling them to grow big and strong, my little monsters. We may come to use you later. He has a small hive of feral fuzz that he's using as the things he to milk for the feral fluid to put into the missiles.
So I think he should talk about that as something he has at home. I don't think he'd have them with him. He's already milked them for what he's got with him. Because
that's the ammo, yeah.
Yeah. So he should definitely talk about having them at home. His little monsters.
His little monster farm.
Okay, let me bring up our thoughts to use file, because this is where we dump all of these wonderful thoughts that we have. Okay.
Ethan grows strong by little monsters.
Has a little farm of Pharaoh fuzz at home. He milks their Pharaoh fluid for his mech's specialized missiles. He calls them his little monsters. Okay, there we go. We now have a note. We will not forget about this.
I'm sorry. Brain goes places.
Brain goes places. So yeah, I'm thinking in our ultimate climax and resolution, the two babies have reached the city. We're seeing the villagers fighting. They're losing because they don't really have the right things to deter these things at the best of times, let alone this is the worst of times. The only defense mechanism they have that could possibly help without, just the whole city or village getting destroyed is their psionic pulse, but that doesn't work without the archive slotted in. The drama comes from needing to get to the archives chamber to re-slot it, spool it up and awaken it. Jake ends up Jake or the Arkir girl. No, it should be the Arkir girl. Jake's already done his big thing. He made a mech move.
He did one impossible thing.
He gets a break now. The Arkir girl is needed to awaken it. Jake and Kilo are reunited and instrumental on the outside in starting up the mechanisms that will let the pulse be broadcast. Umi is... We need something for Umi to do. We need Umi to do something really important at some point. That this needs to be a big deal. So have a think on what you want Umi to be doing. Hordaka and Jabra are busy engaging the babies until the pulse can go off. Hordaka is obviously doing this with his mech. Jabra, however, marshals the locals and shows off her leadership under pressure skills. What's Umi doing? We need Umi to have something.
I think Umi is the one convincing the locals to actually listen to Jabba.
I feel like we need to give him something a bit bigger. So the whole thing with these babies is that they've had quiet infusion made as part of their biology. Maybe Umi took a download of information from the core once Bale-san woke up and he's been reading through it. Maybe he comes up with some idea that will help to actually end the babies, because the psionic pulse, let's say, is going to stun them. Perhaps there's a risk if they just get killed right here and now in the village, that part of the quiet infusion could still infect the village and become a problem?
I think we can do a callback, which would probably be more useful.
What are you thinking?
Umi used to pilot a communication psionically active Titan.
Yes.
He could. Uh, that means he could presumably take up on his old role again. Jabra might be coordinating people, but she doesn't have the psionic ability to actually coordinate people over a large basin. These people do not have communications. He could actually be given a chance to put his... We wanted to give him one more moment of, okay, we can have other people do it, but you know how to do it. So get it back in the saddle and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted Jabra to be the one telling him to do that. And she's like, I need communications, and you're the only one who can do that. You don't get to step out just because you're injured, lame, and feeling old. And that's the one time where she lets the fact that he's older than her actually play in her advantage. Getting a bunch of new guys to operate against a super mobile enemy in the field without perfect communications is not only impossible, it is downright suicidal. So Umi is essentially logging into the local network and becomes the hive mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
Are we silent again?
No, I'm just typing furiously to get these ideas out. So what I have written down is Umi returns to his old role as a comms relay expert. Jabra tells him she needs comms to make this all work so the babies don't die in the middle of the village and spread more quiet. Umi has to link into the village's comms network and coordinate, passing on the orders and status so the babies are driven to the right point, stunned by the pulse there at the right time, and then taken downstream to be finished off by Bale. Umi rides again as a logistics expert, and as the archive comes online for the pulse, he feels the faint impression of the village's history and archive, like he once felt his connection to his mech before he burned out. This is an emotional moment, and he leaves the network in the wake of victory at a strange kind of peace. How do we feel about that?
Point.
Yes.
The reason why they don't want the babies to get into the middle of the village and die there is because if they die in the on top of the growing chambers where the village grows its food, the quiet gets into the growing chambers and everybody starves.
Yeah. Okay.
See, this is how we bring the world building back into the story,
Yes.
right when we need it.
Where did I make the note? Spread more quiet, particularly into the grow chambers, which would cause the village to starve. Okay. We had originally talked about one clone Leviathan not being accounted for at the end of all of this, but I don't think we need to do that anymore because we've decided that these are the babies of the supercavitating underwater Valstrax, which in itself is already a thing that's out there. The whole point was we need to kill these, otherwise it's going to be a huge impact on the environment. So the satisfying conclusion is we did manage to kill them all. There's enough mystery going on, and we know we want to return to Jabra at some point for stories, so I don't think we need to include that element anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Jabra are trying to figure out who made these things and going out to carve a path through salation politics is enough.
Ed's bringing up a good idea here. He was originally saying the archive can't be locked in time, so we need the villagers. But I like the second idea. He had more. The archive isn't enough to kill off the babies. So let's come back to this. Right, let me drop this bit down so I can put some more notes in here. Okay, the archive locks into place and is primed, but where it has been damaged by the babies prior to recovery, it isn't quite strong enough to do what's needed. The villagers need to fall back to the archive chamber to add their voices to its pulse. Further comms needs for Umi to shine at. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Umi supercharged this kind of equipment before. He could do it again. Yeah, we could possibly go with that, or just possibly that his coordination of making sure everyone's in the right place at the right time works. Have we figured out what baby underwater supercavitating Valstrax tastes like yet? Chicken. I'm fairly sure we had Umi as link burnt, so we could have Jake's linking to the Titan with Umi's help basically temporarily supercharge his psi organs, giving them their psi link back for a bit, and we can add a little bit of will this run out before he can organise the fight. We could do that. We could do that.
I don't think I feel this is a little bit not too. I think it's a the supercharging idea is interesting, but he is burnt out. Supercharging him means that he will just burn out faster, and we don't want to burn him out.
Yeah, I think letting him have the sort of glimpse of what once was, and him walking away a strange kind of peace would be nice. If as and when we get to the prose for this section, though, when we're actually writing the flow, it might change at that point, because we'll know what feels right in the actual writing. So there may be some tweaks to this when we get there, because we'll be able to feel at that point, does this feel dramatic enough? Does it feel too dramatic? Where are we at? What do we need to do? So we'll leave where we're at for the moment, and we'll let that organically resolve itself when we get there. Okay. In the aftermath. The day is saved. The babies died far enough away from the village. Everyone is alive, if changed. Barring those mentioned previously. The archive is back where it belongs. Initially, the expedition expects to have issues with the village for all the trouble they caused. Some villagers perhaps act this way initially. However, once it becomes clear that the containment issues on the city were beginning to fail anyway, there is, I should scroll so you guys can see, there is a meeting of the minds in realizing that this problem would have happened one day anyhow. It was serendipity that the issue was caused early, with Titans and people around with the strength of will to solve it. The village is now mostly concerned with what will happen when the expedition returns home and reports are entered into the archives. will there be a ton of activity and questions and problems from people coming to check the city, quarantine, or decommission it, or cause issues for their neighborhood?
Cause issues.
Umi reassures them he will do everything in his power to make sure the reports are sealed as much as possible for only certain eyes, and that the territory of the village is taken into consideration for any future expeditions by dint and right of the effort they put into solving the crisis too. Bale also knows library procedure well enough by now to know that, let me scroll, any future expedition will bring him along, and he will not forget the bravery and importance of the village and its inhabitants, or let them be taken advantage of. Okay, that will lead us into our final part, which will be as the expedition packs up to leave, there is ruminating on what everyone has learned, what they are feeling, the losses they have experienced, what they have also gained from this experience. Hordaka and Jabra intend to stay in touch. Jake and Umi are now closer, and Jake is excited to tell his story to Shoal and humans alike, and explore the nature of his condition and show off his new awesome scar. Kilo is also in a positive mood. Okay.
Kilo also gets a fresh acid etching scar.
Is also in a positive mood and should have a scar of his own etched into his paintwork, or his chassis work. It will be deeper than that, into his chassis work, from a glancing hit from
By a feral fuzz.
Yeah, from ferrofluid. Okay.
The feral fuzz are, you know, they happen. They just happen in places. They're kind of like Benny, just not as cute.
Once back on the floating city, there is a period of grieving for the lost. At the peak of this quiet ceremony held by the expedition in a quiet part of the city, they are interrupted by a city attendant bringing someone else to join their grieving. It is the shark girl. She wishes to join the library and take the entrance exams as a temps reader. And that will be the end of our book.
Yeah. Did we get there? Do we have an outline?
We do. Well, we have all of our bullet points, and it is 2 o'clock on the dot, which is to say 5 o'clock for most of you. Look at what we did in an hour. We've finished. We've finished our bullet point. We have our skeleton.
We have our skelebeans. We can now start putting meat parts in it.
We can. We can start putting on our muscles and our skin.
Yes. And innards. And gizzards.
Okay. Are these the fishy people? Yes, Ralphie. These are our fishy people. And I will be happy to throw a compendium link at you. I should still have that. Yep, there we go. There is the compendium link if you'd like to take a look at some of what we've been up to, Ralphie, and catch up. And yes, we will get our fins out for the lads. Doctor Who says, I can't wait to read this. This sounds like such a good book. I mean, you guys helped come up with this story, so, you know, this is your book.
It's your fault.
You know where it's going. Yes, this is your fault, chat.
It is literally your fault, chat. It's your fault. We are taking no blame here.
I'm feeling pretty good about this. We finished our outline before the end of November, which means we get to start writing. We're going to do writing, chat. This is exciting.
I get to the point where there's enough book in it to make it a book. There's enough twists and turns in it. It's no longer a short story. It's an actual novel.
Once this is fully written out, this will be full novel length. We've got our acts. We know where our acts are and what's happening. So let's put some labels on this, just so it becomes nice and clear. This is the denouement happening there, the sort of roundup. It is catastrophe o'clock is basically where... no, don't do that. Do that. Thank you. So this is basically where Act 5 starts. Is there. Okay. Act 4. Alright. We shifted our Act 4 just a little bit. This is effectively going to be our major turning point. Is here. We're not quite following the exact act breakdown, but that's normal. Rules exist to be broken and tweaked to fit what you're trying to do.
These are guidelines.
Yes.
Actual. It's not a formula. Following it will not make you a good story. It only helps analyze what's in front of us.
Okay, so
it's a framework.
Where Act 1 is. And frames should bend and flex to accommodate what needs to go in them.
Ed, you have become a part of the baleful song. You're one of us. You're one of the voices in the choir, the notes in the unrequited storm.
Okay, this is where our rising action starts taking place. Or does that need to know? It needs to be a little bit earlier, because that's really, this is where Act 2 starts, is actually arriving at the expedition point. So let's put Act 2 in here. So we've just got a vague idea of where we broke things up. Act 3 was basically where we were at last week. Okay. Yeah, Act 3 is here. Okay, so that's where our acts are at, so we can now see those as we go through. So what will happen now is we're going to turn our right side over to our bullet point outline so that we have our skeleton next to us while we work. And then our left side... Alright, let me put all of these things together. Does this have the universal command? It does not. Okay, we'll do this differently. Give me a new folder. This is our framework, where all of our ideas and our act structures and our thoughts to use. This is all of the sort of planning that we've done to be able to build the book. We've got our characters section underneath. We put all of the character stuff that we did. But what we really need now in our book is a brand new file. Prologue.
Hello, TK.
And this will be where we start putting our first prose, which we will begin doing in just a minute.
Look, TK, we've started something completely new. We don't know what we're doing. We have never had any hint. This is a brand new file. You dropped in just in time to see us start something completely new.
Out of scratch.
No, I'm kidding. We've just we are doing the smart thing of these. We have a whole clutch of notes that are slightly more.
We are
Understandable.
excellent planners. We are very excellent planners.
We know where our pens are.
Yes. The position that I'm expecting us to be in at the end of the year is, we started out with only having sort of 2 hours a week. We've extended it to 3 hours a week that we've got to do. So we're going to have had roughly, let's say, 150 hours together over the course of this year. 150 hours, and we have the entire outline of a novel in a completely new setting that is fully detailed. And I mean, the setting itself at this point is the length of a novel and will get bigger. For 150 hours by the end of the year, where we'll have some actual writing, some prose in progress. That's pretty impressive. We have for 150 hours. That's really, really good. Really, really good.
Yep. It is to be said, we are doing the 150 comedy hours. There has been a few extra hours here and there.
There have been, we're not going to talk about how many hours I've put in outside of streams. That's not the point, because all of that was just writing up what you guys came up with and etc. So yeah, there has been a bit, it will be more than 150, but in terms of actually developing where we're going, what we're doing, and bringing a group of 30 to 40 people a week all up to the same point, same mental thing. I'm very, very proud of us. I'm very impressed with what you've all done. Yes, we whole-ass our ship posts. You're right, Wolf. We do not do things by half measures. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly. And then we're going to inflict it on the rest of the world.
We take our shit post seriously.
Yes, but I would like everybody who's here and listening to be very proud of themselves. We literally started with the blankest of blank pages, and the first question we asked was, what kind of star system are we in? And now we're here in about 150 hours by the end of the year, which is pretty incredible.
And we know how to war crime. We know how to get drunk.
We do. We know how to take drugs.
We know how to take drugs. We know how Scylla are being bound to Salacians.
Yes.
We know that Arkier has their own.
We know crime and punishment and what that looks like across the planet. We've done some impressive things.
We know what happens in an octopus's garden, as opposed to the Beatles. We really do. We have a few of them.
All right. Okay, I'm going to take just a few minutes before we start being productive again, because I've done a lot of talking and just need to give my voice a minute and have a little bit of sippy sips to drink, and then we'll start some actual writing.
Dear God.
Dear God. Oh, so you have the floor for just a minute, Lictor, while I drink.
I have the floor. I do. I like the floor. It's mine now. I'm staking a claim over it. Oh, yes. Very, very good. So, well, and that Ralphie's lurking. And TK, did you get... Don't be worried. Things will happen. It'll be fine. It does sound like a good book, Doctor Who. It does.
I do hope people will enjoy it when it's done.
If they have a fraction of the joy being put into making it, I think they will.
I sure hope so. Oh, are you coming up, Ceres? Well, come on then. There's a space.
There's space.
Come on, baby.
Right next to you.
Come on,
right
you can
next to
do
Pip.
it. There you go. So I currently have Anka on my hip, and Ceres is thinking about curling up between my knees in front of my keyboard. And oh no! Now we're squabbling over who gets to lay where. Okay, well Anka got down. You can have her space now. I know that's your favourite space. That is your spot. Yes, that has been your spot since you were a baby. Looking forward to getting my hands on it. A physical copy, perhaps. We could look into, I mean, once we finish this, depending on how we feel about it, we could look into publishing options. And we could have a big discussion at that point on the publishing industry, vanity presses, the scams that are out there, and you know, just sort of have a in-depth conversation about that, because that is a part of the book world at the moment, and I have opinions, which I'm sure comes as a surprise to everybody. And we could talk about what we could do to get physical copies into people's hands. That would be fun too. That would be very fun. All right, let's take a look.
Would be excellent.
All right. Thinking. All right, we've got our notes for what our prologue is going to look like. So to recap the notes that we have in front of us. We know that we want our prologue to open with action, with a weapon striking a raiding pirate who is fleeing an armed group behind him. He swears and points out the faint worn-down spires of a nearby reef outcropping for shelter. As the group descends into the spires to hide, we realise it's the top of an abandoned city. One of the fleeing pirates murmurs some legend about the place being haunted and they shouldn't go there. Another member of the group complains that they need somewhere to put down the archive they're carrying and treat their wounded. Another shot from the pursuing group makes up their mind for them. They descend into the city and find a nook to hide the item in, and in doing so accidentally knock open a small channel into the sealed dead waters of the city below. This releases a suffocating stream of heavier water that will go on to kill the pirates when they rest nearby. The pursuing group halts at the edge of the city and withdraws. The pirates laugh it off, thinking they're just scared of the horror story, and so the pirates bed down for the night. That is our prologue.
Very pro.
I think we should start out with a line like, the first shot took out his weapons bandolier instead of his spine. Something like that. So we know from... Go on.
Do we know what sort of a pirate is it?
We can decide.
Yeah, I mean, is it? Well, I mean, not to put a final point about it, but wouldn't it be foreshadowing if it's a ceratinoid?
We could do that.
I mean, it would foreshadow Jabra. Or would it be species?
I mean, it doesn't matter either way. We can make it work in any direction. So, you know, what species is our initial pirate going to be, chat? This is where you now need to start helping. Again. Because obviously all of this is your fault, so therefore... We could do it as a poll. We could do it as a poll.
Yeah, just, you know, to get them used to it. Chat, you need to help. You can't stay silent on that.
What
Definitely more squid.
species is
Yes.
our opening character pirate? Are
Why
they?
are we killing? Why are we
Cephalid.
killing all the cephalid in the city? We already killed all the cephalids in the city once. Killing them again. The city really doesn't like cephalids.
So the only one I think that just won't work would be a podlin, but we'll see what you guys come up with. This will be a 2-minute poll, and just choose which species we want. Do you need me to write? You know what? I'm just going to hit the poll. Just going to hit the poll. There we go. Poll is up. Let me know what species you think our opening pirate should be. Should they be a squid person cephalinid, a whale / shark person Salatian, a crab person ceratinoid, a naga person latical, or a snail person podlin?
Could you guess what Introspective said?
I'm gonna guess, just a slight guess, that it's gonna be a ceratinoid. A crab.
At least it's not a feral
Someone
fuzz.
voted for podlin. Yes, we're gonna have the world's fastest swimming podlin.
Don't you knock off podlins? They always get what they want to get. Eventually.
Large panels mounted, no one died. I hope no one got hurt either and everything went as smoothly as possible, Mad Ducks.
Very good, Red Ducks.
Okay, we
Your
now have a
safety
tie between
department.
Salacian, ceratinoid, and podlin. Chat. Chat! Question. I will attempt to give you an answer. What is your question, Mad Ducks?
Is this another one of those question followed by absolutely no question at all?
That's usually a squick thing, but it could be. Salacian and ceratinoid are tied. Lictor will get the deciding vote if it does end up as a tie. If it does end up as a crab, we should have the opening being about a round biting into their armor just because it sounds cool. Yeah, I mean, we'll change out spine for carapace. You can count on chat to go for memes. Yes. Yes.
Again.
And we're running out of time. Last few seconds. It is a tie between Salacian and ceratinoid. What are we going with, Lictor?
I have to go with Ceratinoid. I don't want to introduce Salacians
Just yet.
unless I absolutely have to.
Okay, so it'll be a ceratinoid. All right.
It is the opening act.
It's the opening few sentences, so yes.
So, yeah. It is fitting that in our openings few sentences, we shall start with the most humble of offerings, the crab.
So Mad Ducks has had his question. If getting diarrhea on land is called the trots, in this setting, would it be called the blubs or the swims? I think it would have to be the blubs because the swims would imply somebody who's high on swimmer, which is one of our drugs. We now have 2 ceratinoid pirate characters. We do, which is fine, because this one's going to die within a few paragraphs and probably won't even get a name. It won't matter in the long term.
They don't even get fridged. They don't get a name.
Perhaps the pirates related to Jabra too much. Yes, I think that would be too much. Are ceratinoids more prone to piracy or banditry? I don't think it's necessarily that it's a definitive. I think ceratinoids, probably because of their pragmatism, have a certain predilection to seeing it as a job, more than perhaps some of the other races do, but ultimately piracy as a job, whether it's, you know, in the real world, whether in the real world it's for physical things or for online piracy, it tends to be about supply and demand and necessity, and then with certain personality types mixed in. So that's something that can affect everybody. But we know ceratinoids are more prone to pragmatic thinking than some of the other races. And at a certain point, there's a degree of pragmatism of, well, this can't possibly be worse for me than what my other opportunities are, so why not?
Smart ceratinoid hedges their bets.
Yes, so I'm fine with it being a ceratinoid. That will work for this. Okay, the first shot took out his weapons bandolier instead of his neck carapace. So the reason why I want to go with an opening line like this is we know we need to open with action, and the whole point of your opening line is that you want to hook the audience in. You want them to start asking questions, and you want those questions to be interesting and good questions that make them want to read more. So the first shot took out his weapons bandolier instead of his neck carapace. We know that we've got a fight going on. There are weapons involved. This person that we're now suddenly following is also armed. And neck carapace, are we talking about armor or some kind of weird creature? And, you know, we know we're technically talking about both. So we're wanting people to be like, well, what's going on here? I think the next thing that we'll want to follow up with is some sort of tactile language. So, a cloud of
Lit, silt.
a cloud of shards. Descended. Cloud of shards ascended between the red silt shattered shells. He ducked and weaved through the water to avoid. No, because that's going to sound too clinical. Cloud of shards ascended between the red silt shattered as he ducked and weaved through the water, looking for shelter. Something like that, I think. Something like that. Even the bad guys have a story, even if we only meet them at their end. That's true. That's true, though. One thing to be careful with in the modern day is you see in all literature sort of phases that stories go through as certain things come into vogue and then fall out of vogue. And from that, tropes and cliches are derived and subversions, etc., etc. And at the minute, we're living in an era where the cliche has become all villains must either be redeemable or understandable, which typically villains being understandable does make for better writing, but not at the point where you force that understandability to unnatural levels. Some people are just bastards. Some people are just psychopaths, and there is every right to explore that concept in literature just as much as there is, people who do justifiable crimes, etc., etc. You don't always have to only be doing Saturday morning cartoon villains to have somebody who's a bad guy just because they are a bad guy. Their motivation is purely that this is the way their mind works because they are inherently broken on the inside. So, yeah, bad guys, but yeah, the Silicon Soul said they didn't say that they had a justification. Silicon Soul said a story. And yes, even when you've got a bad guy who's just a bad guy, I mean, that is the story, is this person is fundamentally broken, and that gives us our interest. I like hurting people because it's fun. I mean, with true psychopaths, they wouldn't even be able to quantify it that way because to have the concept of fun, you have to have the concept of boredom or etc. And for some people, they just... emotions like that and an understanding of the world just doesn't exist that way for some people. But you're right, that can be a thing as well, is you can have villains who just enjoy being sadistic, and that's their motivator. That's it. But the current zeitgeist doesn't favour that. It favours, oh no, the villain must be redeemable, or it must be completely understandable how they got here. And I'm all for occasionally just having an absolute arsehole if it suits the story you're trying to tell.
Yep. Please. People are complicated.
People are complicated. Especially when you have somebody who's not complicated, who runs up against society that is complicated, and that's where the story is. Okay. Alright, let's move on.
Full personalities in our story? Never.
Second shots. How do I want to put this? Second shot, impact, flipped. Car, let's give him a name at this point.
Car.
Yeah, we'll give him the name Car. It's nice. It's a biting, short name. Good for a pirate. Good for what's going on here. Nice and chunky and short.
Like
Car, end over end, and drove the breath from his gills, so we're really emphasising that he's an alien character here. Some gills. And bounced him off a rocky outcrop. Let's think. No, I bounced him off a ridge of rock. I think works better. Hard enough stars burst behind his upper eyes. There we go. So it's now very clear that we're talking about an alien race. You know, something that isn't human. There we go. Let's put that in the right thing. Okay, so the first shot took out his weapons bandolier instead of his neck carapace. A cloud of shards descended between the red silt of shattered shell as he ducked and weaved through the water looking for shelter. The second shot impact flipped Carr end over end and drove the breath from his gills and bounced him off a ridge of rock hard enough stars burst behind his upper eyes. Yeah, that flows pretty well. I think that's a pretty good opening bit of prose. Next bit, characterization. He swore, spat the copper taste off his tongue. Let's think, because we want to use our senses here. He swore, spat the copper taste off his tongue, and marshalled his legs to right
maybe tasting the odd flavor of the ruined of the ruins around him.
Yeah, we could get to that. So, okay, let's think. He swore about the copper taste of his masters. His legs to right himself. Something in the water tasted old.
Old and slimy. That's it.
Tasted old and slimy. No better than the taste of his own blood. There we go. Alright. And at this point we want to bring in that he's part of a group. Move. Someone yelled below him. Because we want to really emphasise that we're working in this vertical column because we have this extra dimension. So let's bring in our other characters. This is a high drama scene. So we want short sentences. So yeah, just move, I think makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not going to worry too much about formatting for right now. That's something I do in the editing phase. Let's just write.
Let's put words on the page.
Yeah. So let's think. Car twisted in the water. Keep it a short sentence. The rest of the crew were mere shapes in the murky water around him. Where do we go from there? Let's describe them as a group. The rest of the crew were mere shapes in the murky water around him. A knot of mismatched, that's a good way of putting it, a knot of mismatched silhouettes, because this makes we're talking about pirates. We don't want them to feel unified and uniform.
Be ragtag, bedraggled.
Yeah. Mismatched silhouettes of fins and tails and dragging. How do I want to describe their packs? Prop packs, I think.
What? Prop packs.
Prop packs. So, you know, the implication that they're all different sizes and shapes and etc.
Nettings, maybe? Nettings or...
Net packs. Yeah, that would work better. Yeah.
Net packs.
A knot of mismatched silhouettes of fins and tails and dragging net packs. Okay, so that gets them moving towards a network of coral spires. And then between them, hugged close. Yeah, I think we'll use that word, yeah, because that's, yeah. I know, hugged close and awkward was a large crate. So let's read what we've got so far. The first shot took out his weapons bandolier instead of his neck carapace. A cloud of shards descended between the red silt of shattered shell as he ducked and weaved through the water looking for shelter. The second shot impact flipped Carr end over end and drove the breath from his gills, and bounced him off a ridge of rock hard enough stars burst between his upper eyes. He swore, spat the copper taste off his tongue, and marshalled his legs to right himself. Something in the water tasted old and slimy, no better than the taste of his own blood. "Move!" someone yelled below him. Carr twisted in the water. The rest of the crew were mere shapes in the murky water around him. Okay, we've used the word water twice there in close succession. This is why you read things out loud. Murk will do.
Brine, liquid, brine, liquid.
We can just use murk and just not expand further. So it will now read, Carr twisted in the water. The rest of the crew were mere shapes in the murk around him, a knot of mismatched silhouettes of fins and tails and dragging net packs as they drove themselves towards a forest of coral spires. Between them, hugged close and awkward, was a large crate. That's our opening. I'm going to put this all into the same verse style so it looks nice. There we go. How do we feel about that, chat? Let me catch up on what chat's saying. Why would crab blood taste coppery? Because it is visual shorthand for our audience. It's one of those words that always gets used in connection with blood, even though blood technically tastes of iron. It's just shorthand that's been in literature for decades at this point, and it's one of those things that it's not a direct focus of what our story is about, so we use the shorthand so the audience knows what we're talking about and move on, and keeps it nice and visual, easy suspension of disbelief. Okay. Villains do require at least some backstory motivation. Kill, fuck, soul shit, a destroyer of worlds, eater of puppies was probably a diaper soiling child at some point, unless they weren't, obviously. I mean, it's what you do with things that count, but yeah, sometimes you just have characters that are just bastards. They're just bastards. Nobody was mean to them in their youth. They're just bastards because their brain is broken. Those sorts of people exist in real life, and they're horrifying, especially if they learn how to manipulate other people. I don't like the idea of throwaway characters. Depth is good even for a piece of shit bad guy. Yeah, I mean, if a character is throwaway and unmemorable, then you've missed something. If they're supposed to be an important character who's not just on the periphery of the story, whether the motivation is a deep and insightful, redeemable, understandable one or not, or whether it's something that's much more shallow, they should still be memorable, because there should be something there that it talks about the human experience, because that's ultimately the point of most of the arts. It's our exploration of the human experience. And the way that we communicate the things that we each feel and see and experience and figure out about the world through, the lives that we live. And if you haven't managed to capture that in any way whatsoever, then you need to go back to the drawing board, and something is missing. Wouldn't crab blood taste different from human blood? It probably would, but it's not going to be the direct focus of our story, but we're just not going to worry about it. Horseshoe crab blood tastes like mud or pineapple. I wonder what it tastes like to them, though. Do they have the concept of pineapple?
By the power of pineapple, I am the crab.
Crab blood is copper based, so it might work. Also, we might actually be on the money using the shorthand, whereas in most modern literature that talks about human characters getting into fights and the coppery taste of blood are incorrect, because that taste that you're picking up in blood is iron, it's not copper.
I would do the most un-Corbin-like thing I can say and go on a limb and say, don't go out and taste it. It's not good for you.
Yes.
You don't need to taste blood in order to affirm cultural biases. Okay.
Trust me on this,
Don't
TM.
be Corbin.
Yes, trust me.
Corbin, it's
doesn't
only
taste good.
science if you lick it and then write it down. You have to do the writing down part afterwards. That's when it becomes science.
It's not geology. You do not lick the science.
A
In
lot of
you do
science
you do
involves
not
licking it. It's scary.
in biology you do not lick the science. The science is very likely to end when you lick it.
Or we
I
invent
want-
new drugs for Shoal. One of the two. I keep a dictaphone on hand. I call bullshit. All right, so we've got our initial opening. Other than the copper taste of blood being something that might be up for debate at some point, it doesn't seem that I'm seeing any major dissension with where we're starting. Let's figure out where we go next. We've introduced Carr, so let's stick with Carr. Let's let him have some of his own thoughts creep into the narrative. That damned crate. He is upset by it. This has caused them problems. This will help to enhance intrigue and interest.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to use this for now until we discuss how this should go. But I'm thinking we let our villagers have some cavitating weaponry of some kind.
What is cavitating weaponry?
Just something that has enough propulsion behind it, and we'll worry about it in a minute.
Okay.
Let me get the thought out. Okay. I hit comma. I'm being visual with this. We might have to change it, but this is my visual artist kicking in. The shimmering cavitation trail. I like the look of that mentally. Keep pausing because I'm thinking of descriptive language. No, not dust because we're underwater. And we're
Stilt.
underwater, so things move slower.
Particulate. Puff. Grit is good.
There we go. Another lance bolt streaked through the gloom, leaving a sparkling trail of cavitation shimmer behind it. It clipped a spur of stone to Carr's left and blew it apart in a puff of grit and slow-turning stone particulate.
Carr didn't even notice how it clipped a part of one of his hind legs.
If he doesn't notice, then he can't comment on it. And we're sticking close narrative.
Want to comment it? Okay.
If we're going to use... Okay. Let's try this. Surface damned locals, Carr hissed. I'm thinking for underwater species, just a very sort of loose, basic pejorative would be, you know, surface. These people aren't proper deep waterers.
Surface. You need to scroll down a bit.
Oh, my apologies. I need to add some extra space on here. Thump. There we go. That should fix it. Still wanting to use descriptive language this early on. Trying to visualize being in deep, murky water, what that looks like, what it's made up of, and how we want to describe it.
Okay.
And then we want to describe that they're swimming over the city and slowly reveal that. So the seabed below fell away in stepped ridges. I think that would be a good way to describe it. Down into a deeper blue. Play with that water visualization and language.
Into a deeper ink. It's at this deep. It's not blue. It's just black. It's just ink.
Yeah, it is going to be that sort of very deep blue at this level. You're right.
Even if we're in lambent season.
Let's have some contrast with the lamps behind from their pursuers. Let's let Carr have an internal thought. How will it go? Yeah, let's let him use that language.
Pursuer's lamp dabbing through the gloom.
Okay, where was my thought? Let's think about it from his point of view. There. That's a pirate thought. And that should be italicized as well. So, okay, between them, hugged close and awkward, was a large crate. That damned crate. Another lance bolt streaked through the gloom, leaving a sparking trail of cavitation shimmer behind it. It clipped a spur of stone to Carr's left and blew it apart in a puff of grit and slow-turning stone particulate. "Surface damned locals," Carr hissed. The water here was bad for speed. It was thick with silt and plankton, full of blind, let me put the L in there, full of blind things that twitched and scattered as the raiders darted through them. The seabed below fell away in stepped ridges down into a deeper ink. Behind, at the edge of vision, he could see their pursuers' lamps fogging through the gloom. Organised, disciplined light. Village militia, Carr thought sourly. Only villagers get that righteous. It needs to be in the correct tense for this to be a thought. Only villagers get that righteous about stolen property. How are we feeling about this, chat? Anything going on here? Read above. Okay, let me scroll and catch up. Write down, publish, and get someone else to repeat. I'm not sure what that was in reference to, but I'm going to agree. Oh, science, yes. Write it down, publish it, and then get someone else to repeat it. That last part doesn't happen as often as it should. I record my toaster experiments, therefore it is science. Absolutely, and you also have repeated your toaster experiments to make sure they are correct. I want Carr to die in glory. Let him go in a blaze of honour. We might get to do that, we might not. We do have our plan of how this unfolds, unfortunately. But we will have people dying gloriously later on. Maddox says, I form a hypothesis, I test it, I record the results. I respect the scientific process. Yes. In microbiology, you lick the thing, then it eats your brain from the inside out. Yeah, that can happen. get someone else to repeat them and record their results, then it's definitely science. Yes, but again, that doesn't happen as often as you'd think. There are so many studies out there that have never been properly peer-reviewed that we just take as gospel, and it's scary if you ever dive down that rabbit hole. We have lurking going on. Fresh stinging in his lower legs told him the round had clipped something in its passing. Yeah, we could drop that in. We could drop that in. Let me copy that and paste it in. No, here, thank you. Paste and match style, thank you. There we go, that line is now added in. Let's see what else chat is saying. I find the word soup springing to mind. Oh dear. Yep, slimy texture from things being disturbed, which we've added in because we have an active scene going on. Would Shoal have the concept of soup? Yes, they do. We do have surface areas after all, and amalgamated liquids decanted into barnacles that you can stick a straw in are a thing, and you can even heat them up. So, you know, a nice barnacle, a barnacle container of soup would probably be very nice in the cold water. Maybe surfaced baked local, implying they're not even fully underwater. Yeah, we could do that. Surface baked locals. Helps if I click on the right window to see chat. Mad Ducks wants Corbin to decide what he should toast next. Corbin's response is your hands. Let us not do that because hands are useful for many things. Lord Noobskill suggests chicken nuggets. You should do long nugs, Ducks. Long nugs or dino nuggies. Do chicken tendies or dino nuggies.
Words are being said here. I recognize at least some.
Barney sip instead of Capri Sun. Yes, we did discuss that barnacles were basically like the Capri Suns of this setting. Okay, so we've added in some little bits from chat. This seems to be going well so far. Alright, so Car is being sour about the people chasing them. Let's have some more descriptive language. Here. Down the line. Ahead, the terrain rose in a... What words do I want to use? Head the terrain reared up. Let's make it sound more organic. In a jagged... I don't think I want to use the word rugged. Toothy. We'll use these nice organic symbolisms considering what we're going to do later with the threat that's in this. There'll be a reef outcropping. How do I want to describe its tallness?
Car is currently entering our Cephalonid ancient city outskirts, right?
Yes, they're descending towards the outskirts from above.
Okay, so they might want to leap a few. They might either want to leap a few terraces, or they might want to hug the ground and scuttle along the many handholds, holes and pockmarks, using them as cover.
Okay.
Like
Locomotion is important here. Are they swimming or are they scuttling?
And the minute we've got them swimming so they could turn end over end and have that verticality, but we should have them descend at this point, so a reef tall enough that its highest outcroppings stood proud of any clear line of seabed below. Clustered like a grove So this is the language I want to use, but that's surface language, human language, and that doesn't seem right. Okay, ahead the terrain reared up in a jagged toothy wall, a reef outcropping tall enough that its highest outcropping stood proud of any clear line of seabed below. Okay, dominated the murk. Down. Car yelled. Alright, let's do that. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit less descriptive, but it's more accurate.
I think it's better that way.
Yeah.
No, we don't have to get too floral here. Down.
He thumbed his glide pack to angle the assistive jet on his back and plunged towards the spires.
This is not jet. Ballast.
As his companions did likewise. We might need to tighten some of this language a bit later, and that's completely fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, Ed, we could, but it's better to. I mean, yes, Ed, kelp is a viable alternative.
Shooting past the crewmen handling the crate.
Crewmates. Not crewmen.
Yeah.
Not crewmen.
I can spell, I swear, until he caught up with the...
I think we're doing a writing, ducks. I'd love some ducks lore, but we're doing a writing, and it might not be the precise timing that to enable that.
Yeah, I'll check chat again in a minute. Yeah, let's bring in another character at this point.
Yep.
Jex.
The car.
Yeah, we're going to add in Jex now, which is a nice short-sounding, hard name. It will work well for this.
Yep. X. Could be with it just with an X.
There'll be very 2000s of us.
Yep.
Heavy jaw and scarred hide, because we like our descriptive words.
I like our words to cost at least $5 a month. They have to be scrumptious.
We're going to have a laticle. We're going to make this one a laticle.
Yes. Yes. Sinuous serpentine. Mobile yet flimsy.
Yes. Actually, let's go with level instead. And then we want to give Jex some personalization of some kind. So let's have him teeth bared in a habitual arsenal he always wore when annoyed. Okay. It's very brief personalization, but important. We don't need to put a speech tag on this because we've just described a character. It's clearly going to be them speaking. Too many speech tags is a bad thing. let's start alluding to what we want to have them do.
They're the good guys. I swear.
Jack's followed his point. Want to just rock. Let's scroll so you guys can see. They were shaped because we now want to reveal that this is a city we're heading towards. Spires and ridges and broken arches. There's nothing quite like an arch for saying, hey, people were here.
Yep, they don't come up in nature all too often.
All smoothed by time and algae. Under the growth, car could see lines, which also don't turn up in nature nearly as often as when people are involved. The two regular curve of a buttress. What else would he notice?
Cephalin handholds, tentacle holds, the cluster, the sort of knobs that cephalids use to propel themselves when scuttling across the surface. Maybe just call them Ceph walkways.
I don't want to start using too much strong terminology until we've introduced the audience to things, because that wouldn't mean anything to them. But yeah, you're right. That in time, that would be the sort of way that that's described.
I'm trying to impart what are they seeing, and we can make a decision on how to describe it without using the word cephalid.
Fair, I get you. I think we can drop the word in. As long as we explain it later, and where we use it, it doesn't matter if you don't know what it means yet.
Clawways is cool. Clawways.
Yeah, we could do that. Okay, let me finish this, and then we'll read it back, and then we'll figure out how we can refine the prose a little bit. In the gaps between spires, black mouths yawned where windows had once stood. Because there's nothing quite so haunting as a window frame with no window in it.
We're just past the 3 hours mark.
Oh, we have. We need to get out of here. I had not realised we'd gone screaming through time that far.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Lichter, for letting me know. We need to get out of here and let Striker have the slot. So I think what I'll do, chat, I will refine this over the next week so that when we come back, I'll read what I think the prologue should be, and then we'll continue working on it and changing the prose based on you guys. I thought we still had like 15, 20 minutes left. Time goes fast when you're having fun. Yes, Polychromatic. Thank you all for joining me this week. We've actually started writing. I'm very proud of us. Right. Let us get out of here. I will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Tell Striker I said hi, and please don't come after me with the banhammer. I love your faces.
Bye.